The Scimitar RGB from Corsair is one of the most popular MMO mice on the market these days, and for good reason. It has an abundance of programmable buttons, a high level of customization, a great sensor, and its well-designed shape makes it a very competitive mouse for its segment. Back when eBay reviewed the original Scimitar RGB in early 2016, he had largely positive conclusions about it for MMO gamers, with the main gripe being the closely packed side buttons which took some getting used to. Now, a little over a year later, Corsair is refreshing the Scimitar RGB with the Scimitar Pro. On the exterior, it looks identical, but it's had some changes under the hood. Is that enough to keep it relevant in 2017, or has Corsair played things a little bit too safe? Let's find out, but first, a message from our sponsor.
The Z9 Neo by Zalman brings all the right features on a budget, with a large windowed side panel, 5 included fans, and an excellent interior layout with super simple cable management. Get it now? Link in the description below.
The Scimitar Pro hasn't changed much, although some may argue that's a good thing. It keeps the same familiar shape, making for a fairly large mouse which features a massive 12-button grid on the side, and a rubber-gripped rest on the right for support. You've got the 2 satisfying primary clicks and an excellent scroll wheel, although none of this is a surprise, coming from Corsair. The price unfortunately is not the same. You can pick up the Scimitar RGB for $60 USD, however the Scimitar Pro is going to come in closer to $80 on release, and that price hike may be hard to justify for many. The big draw of the Scimitar is the macro pad on the mouse's side, featuring 12 mechanical buttons. As with the Scimitar RGB, the side buttons can be moved horizontally with a hex screw at the bottom to allow for fine-tuning to your hand. The second and fourth row are textured for easy distinction, and each key is fully programmable through the Q software. Now this all sounds great, and we'll dive into the use case for this mouse later, but what has changed between the Scimitar RGB and the Scimitar Pro? In short, a sensor upgrade. The Scimitar already had the esteemed Embargo 18S3988, the sensor used in the Sabre RGB and the Death Adder, but the Pro uses the PMW 3367, a variant of the 3360, one of the best sensors on the market. It's an upgrade, but considering how the 3988 is already a very good sensor, in real world results I can't feel the difference between the 3988 and the 3360. Sure, having a high 16K DPI and a spiffy sensor might look good on paper, but in the real world it's a disappointing upgrade for a supposedly professional mouse, especially when you're paying a decent amount more for it. Because it's not like the Scimitar RGB was perfect, and these problems still carry over to the Scimitar Pro. It's still a heavy mouse at 147 grams, pretty much ruling out any hardcore FPS gamers or those who prefer lighter mice. The side buttons are still close together and sometimes hard to distinguish, and really the lack of innovation and a minor refresh with a slightly higher price tag is a bit disappointing for me. Although the nature of the refresh might be a letdown, the mouse still is very versatile for its intended market. Corsair's Q software is extremely powerful, with full customization for 4-zone RGB lighting, as well as for all the other features you've come to expect from Corsair's software suite. You have lift-off adjustment, surface calibration, DPI adjustment from 100 to 16,000 DPI in 1 DPI increments, as well as the ability to bind macros, custom text, media controls, and much more to all of the buttons on the mouse. The extra side buttons have obvious use in MMOs where you need to have many different abilities available on a moment's notice, so having large amounts of macros are useful. However, for people who don't play MMOs, finding use for these buttons is much harder. In CSGO, I found a couple of main uses. The first is switching weapons and selecting grenades. While it works, I found that keyboard binds are almost always quicker. Binds for buying weapons at the start of the rounds is also another use, but it's not time sensitive enough that you can't use the keyboard. I think the most use these buttons would get in CS is for spamming chat more quickly than ever. So, if you're thinking about this mouse primarily for FPS gaming, don't. The high weight and the keypad just aren't worth it. However, this is a very versatile mouse if you're doing 50% MMO gaming and 50% FPS. The sensor is excellent in both the Pro and the RGB variant, and the shape is still nice, so for casual CSGO it's more than satisfactory, and when you jump into your MMO games you have all those extra buttons. The verdict on the Scimitar Pro is this. As a Pro refresh, it's a disappointing upgrade with only a minor sensor sidestep. However, it is still a worthy all-rounder mouse, bringing the features for hardcore MMO gamers as well as pretty much any other genre you'd like. However, unless you get a great deal on the Scimitar Pro, I would say that just save your money and get the almost identical Scimitar RGB. So, thank you for watching everyone. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, and comment with your thoughts on the Scimitar Pro and Corsair Pro lineup down below. I'm Aiden with Hardware Canucks, make sure to subscribe for more similar content, and we'll see you in the next video.